Kalen DeBoer made an absolutely monster move today that caught a lot of people off guard.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama, HSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson. That's me. Bama Online's Jimmy Stein is normally him, but he's having dinner with his sister tonight. I'll cut him some slack, but I could not go live when Alabama hires Kalen DeBoer or Ryan Grubb, either one of them, but Ryan Grubb specifically in this particular instance, because that's who Alabama just hired as the offensive coordinator. Now, what does this mean for current offensive coordinator Nick Sheridan? I mean, I think the general assumption is he'll go back to coaching quarterbacks right now. I have not seen that decided yet. I assume he will still be on the staff, which I'm happy about. I mean, I don't think Nick Sheridan was necessarily bad last year. So there may be some people who disagree with me. I don't think he was. But having Ryan Grubb is monster news. And it really is about as big a news as you can have hiring an offensive coordinator, if you ask me. This is somebody that Alabama fans have been itching to get back at Alabama. And yes, he was at Alabama for a brief stay, and before he went on to become the offensive coordinator at Seattle. And I mean, I didn't really blame him for going to Seattle. If you can get a chance to go to the NFL and just dip your toe in, why not? I understand it. And then when you get fired, you get a big old check and you go back to college and you kick butt. And I think that's what Ryan Grubb is going to do. So many questions arise, though, like where will Nick Sheridan end up with this? How did all this go down? I mean, Jimmy and I have speculated on Ryan Grubb, and I think everybody has. And we kind of felt like every day that passes that we don't hear anything, that makes it less and less likely, right? I mean, that seemed the case. But how about Kalen DeBoer being very clandestine, being very 007 here, and pulling this off without a lot of hoopla? And then just on a Sunday night, here we are, the Super Bowl off week. He just drops this gigantic bomb on the college football world. And make no mistake, that's what this is. Let me tell y'all something about Ryan Grubb here, because he's a dude. First of all, he and DeBoer are very good friends. I mean, like super tight. I mean, you will hear them talk about each other and like they're just tight. They're bros. How the young people say it. He's been with him at Fresno State and Eastern Washington, Sioux Falls, and of course Washington, and then for 6 to 8 minutes at Alabama. Now he's back with him at Alabama. And, when he was at Washington, I don't know the specific numbers. I know that he had the second or third best passing offense in the country when Michael Penix was there. And Penix, of course, was a top Heisman candidate under his tutelage, which means a lot. Now, that brings up the next question. What does this mean for the quarterbacks? Okay. If you're Ty Simpson, you may love this hire because I think it is a better offensive coordinator. You may not love this hire because, okay, in a sense, maybe you and Keelan Russell and Austin Mack are all starting on the same page again because you have a new guy. Now, I mean, it's still Kalen DeBoer. It's still, in general, the same kind of thing. But if you're Keelan Russell, I think you have no choice but to be like ecstatic about this. If you're Austin Mack, you're probably pretty happy about this because Austin Mack, remember, was going to Washington or he was already at Washington or whatever. And so he knows what's up with this cat. And Nick Sheridan was sort of learning on the job last year a little bit. And it, now in hindsight, we can all look back and say that's a tough way to learn on the job is at the University of Alabama when everybody's got all these gigantic expectations. And you're learning on the job with Jalen Milroe, who is both the best and worst quarterback in the league at different times, depending on what time of the day it is. So I think they certainly would like more consistency out of that quarterback position. And yeah, I am super stoked about this hire. I mean, I think just judging by the number of people in on this impromptu live podcast, I think a lot of you guys are pretty excited about it too. And I'm just looking at some of these guys. Everybody's just saying, yeah, it's a great hire. And I think look, somebody did say, I can't believe the Luka AD trade. I don't know. For me, Ryan Grubb is bigger news than Luka AD because, frankly, I forgot AD was on the Lakers. And I'm not really worried about the NBA at all. So I will say Ryan Grubb news trumps that. But again, very excited about this, very excited about the fact that they know each other so well. It'd be one thing. Ohio State just lost Chip Kelly, who came in and was offensive coordinator for 1 year. And he left, by the way, UCLA as head coach, goes to Ohio State, OC for a year, and now he's going to the pros, I think to the Raiders to be OC. So here I was, silly old me, thinking that, oh man, the Ohio State offensive coordinator job's open now. That could be a landing spot for Grubb, which I would hate. And luckily, maybe that's one reason this got bumped up a little bit. Maybe. I mean, thinking out loud, Jimmy will have more to say on this. Again, Jimmy is having dinner at his sister's. He's deserving of some family time. So y'all cut him some slack. He said he just can't make it tonight. So all good. What I want to do now, I want to talk more about how this affects the quarterbacks. But what I want to do right this minute is tell you guys about FanDuel. Y'all know I love FanDuel. Just love it. It's been a sponsor of our programming for a long time now. Super Bowl 59 is here. One game, two teams, endless possibilities, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or even betting on the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy to get in on that action, bruh. With live betting all game long, you can adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from kickoff to the final whistle. Look, you just want to go do this because you'll know that you can place a $5 bet and potentially win 200 in bonus bets for the Super Bowl. That's the icing on the cake. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Just bet $5. And if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 59. Or as Gronk calls it, Super Bowl licks. It just dawned on me, many of you may not have seen that commercial, but in Roman numerals, it looks like Super Bowl 59 is Super Bowl licks. And that's kind of funny. Maybe funny to me, not to y'all. So I want to talk about how this has an effect on the quarterbacks. I mentioned it briefly. I really think this is a huge win for Kalen Russell. Monster win. And this kid has been, he's been winning on and off the field a lot lately. Gatorade Player of the Year. Nationally, he is officially Alabama's highest rated recruit ever. Boy, you want to talk about something that, a year ago, everybody said that was nuts. You remember the Locked On LSU guy was like having a sort of a laughing fit because Alabama stole, quote unquote, SMU's quarterback because he was committed to SMU at the time. And now Kalen Russell is Alabama's highest rated recruit ever, over any Nick Saban signing, over Bryce Young, over Andre Smith, over Trent Richardson, and Derrick Henry, any of these guys that were all 5 stars. He trumps them. So he's been winning a lot on and off the field, like I said. And now I think he sort of wins here because, look, I'm not saying it's not going to be Ty Simpson. Y'all know I've been saying, and Jimmy too, we've both been saying we think it'll be Ty Simpson. That doesn't mean we're etching it in stone outside of Denny Chimes, right? The reason we said that mainly because Ty Simpson has been on campus and has been learning and he knows the receivers and all those good things. Well, but when you have an offensive coordinator change, and I know it sounds like Nick Sheridan will stay with the staff, but when you have a change, I just feel like that's got to be a win for Keelan Russell because it sort of drops everybody back to a baseline starting point. Now, Ty Simpson still has the experience over Keelan Russell. That's just facts. Austin Mack has experience over Keelan Russell. But Russell does have an it factor about him. So, again, I'm not saying this is bad news for Ty Simpson. I'm just saying it's better news for Keelan Russell. And I think right now, the more people ask me and probably Jimmy about Keelan Russell than they ask about any of the other quarterbacks. Ty Simpson is one of those guys that is sort of maybe the forgotten man in a sense. I'm not sure he should be. But I feel like in the end, this is very nice for Keelan Russell. He's got to sit back and thinking, oh yeah. And if I'd be willing to bet that Ryan Grubb makes a phone call to Keelan Russell or sees him today in Tuscaloosa very, very quickly. But to Ty Simpson too, don't get me wrong, and Austin Mack. Again, don't get me wrong. I don't think they're gonna. This is a surefire sign that Keelan Russell is going to win the job or anything like that. I just feel like it brings everybody back to a baseline starting point, and whatever lead that Ty Simpson had has probably been cut into in some regard. Now, going back to Grubb and talking about the way what he loves is accuracy. And if you're Grubb, how about this? How about, aren't you kind of glad? Didn't it kind of work out if you're Ryan Grubb that you weren't here last year for Jalen Milroe? And again, I don't want to sound like I'm throwing Jalen Milroe under the bus. Look, and I'm sorry, I got this one little hair that keeps standing up, and I'm staring at myself as I'm talking to y'all, so it's bothering me. But let me explain. So I don't know that anybody can completely fix Milroe's accuracy problems. I don't know that. I hope somebody can. I hope he goes in the pros and makes $1 gazillion, and his family and his grandchildren and their children's children are set for life. That's what I want to happen. But if I'm being real, I'm saying I don't know if somebody can make him as accurate as he needs to be in the NFL. And I don't know that anybody could have made him super accurate at Alabama. So in that light, what if Grubb had been here? What if Grubb had been here last year and Jalen and the record were the same and Jalen Milroe looked exactly the same because that's what Milroe is? Wouldn't that really tarnish Ryan Grubb? So I'm saying now it is so much, I think there's so much more happiness and it's so much better for him. He gets to start over. He's not handcuffed by any quarterback. He can whoever he goes with, everybody's gonna say that's his guy. You can't fault him. That's his guy. Nick Sheridan and Kalen DeBoer. It sounds worse than I'm making it, but they were handcuffed to Jalen Milroe. There wasn't gonna be a way that somebody else is gonna win that job. We know that, and they sort of had to ride that all the way through the season. It ended up not being a horrible season. 9-4 is not horrible. But it wasn't a great season, and it certainly was worse than what Alabama fans are used to. But there is not going to be any kind of a hostage-taking situation in this instance. So I feel like Grubb gets to come in, choose the guy he wants to choose. He gets to be here through the spring. He gets to be here, before spring practice. Gets to see everybody. Gets to get a feel for all this. Choose the guy he wants to choose, and then ride with it. And I think it's so much easier. I feel like if it were Nick Sheridan, he may still have to lean to Ty Simpson, who, again, I'm on record as saying I think Ty Simpson will be the starter. But I'm less confident of that now than I ever was. So a lot's got to shake out. Obviously, we got to go through the spring. We got to see what happens. A lot of other things could happen. Who knows? Maybe Ryan Grubb loves somebody that's in the portal. Maybe he does. And so who knows what's going to happen. But right now I'm going off what we got, and those three quarterbacks I've mentioned, Keelan Russell, Austin Mack, Ty Simpson, and now coupled with Ryan Grubb and Nick Sheridan, assuming he's the quarterbacks coach, and Kalen DeBoer. I'm feeling like where I thought Ty Simpson was going to be starter 75%, I think it's more like 60%, and Keelan Russell is number 2 with a bullet. That's what I feel like. I feel like he was as big a winner tonight as anybody, but the biggest winners are Alabama fans because they're excited again. We needed a shot in the arm. I don't know if y'all saw this, but Jackson Cantwell, who a lot of people think is the number one recruit for 2026, he's released his top 6. Alabama wasn't on it. So be it. Alabama's offensive line classes have been stellar recently, so I'm not super worried about that, but he's just an awesome, awesome player, and I would have loved to have gotten him too. But that's going to do it for this emergency podcast. Super excited about Ryan Grubb. Jimmy and I will be all over this tomorrow, so y'all please do join us then, and we will talk to you later on. Until then, roll tide.